very special newsmaker on Left, Right and Centre tonight, author, playwright and giving voice to our collective conscience as one of the most significant writers of our time, Kiran Nagarkar. His new book is a composition of two plays, Bedtime Story and Black Tulip. But we would be factually incorrect to call Bedtime Story new. It was first written in 1975 after the emergency. Its use of the Mahabharata and its characters to tell stories of injustice, oppression and gender or class violence was provocative even then. When Marathi actor and director Sriram Lagu wanted to stage it, it was returned from the censor board with 78 cuts. Its release now is accompanied with a scathing introductory comment on censorship, the freedom of expression and the role of the media. And given the discourse in the nation today, perhaps the release couldn't have been better timed. Mr. Nagarkar, thanks very much for joining us in the studio. I want to ask you, picking up from my comment right now, do you think your book is appropriately timed today given what's happening in the country?
Yes, it is appropriately timed, but also I don't think there has ever been a time when it would not have been appropriate. But I think far more than that, I cannot think of a time even more relevant than the emergency as of now, because of what is going on across the world.
But perhaps closer to what's going on at home, in a sense. We've been seeing articles about how we've become a nation of bans, especially in the last 1 week. And I mean, to name, remind our viewers of just a few, in the last week, we've seen the censor board take out 28 words that they believe are inappropriate, including the word lesbian, which was muted from a movie. The government has called for bans on several films. Beef has been banned in Maharashtra. And, you know, Tamil writers in Tamil Nadu have been censured, have been attacked for their writing. These are just some of the examples of the recent weeks.
Oh, I should have really mentioned all this before. I'm sorry. I was getting onto a larger stage. But as you have pointed out quite correctly, the first thing is look at your own backyard and your front yard. And this is what is happening here. Actually, I'm completely puzzled by what is happening here, because at the center we have a party which came in almost with a total majority. Maybe it fell short a little bit. But the point is, there should have been a tremendous amount of confidence there instead of insecurity. And so what you're getting at all the time is this absurd idea that anything which you say, if it's not exactly attuned to what they think, is going to bring the country into disrepute. I think this is, I mean, first of all, as I was trying to get at earlier on, how does this come about? In the sense that, where does this insecurity come about? If you know that you got the whole mandate, then there is no need for this at all. And secondly, even if you did not, why is it that we feel that the national reputation will be constantly at stake? We are not ever willing, I think for the time, just now especially, we are not willing to address the issues that are concerned. What we are addressing all the time is the bonanza going around it. The fact that, you know, people are going to, all over the world are going to see this particular video film. So what? Right. I mean, the most important thing is that, how did it occur? And
in fact, in one of your recent articles, because you also write in journals periodically, you talk about the narrative of the country now being of development and money. Now, I think this was in the context of Maharashtra and the recent elections. In the state, you had focused on this. What do you mean by that?
We use this word development so loosely. I have not found too many people asking, what exactly do we mean by development? What is the scope of it? And development towards amelioration of the poor and of everybody else. I do not in the least want to leave out the rich, because I hope the rich will also keep pouring in money into what the poor, I mean, into making the lot of the poor much better. But has anybody asked, why is it that only nuclear power becomes development and alternative energies don't become development? Or that doubling the FSI in Bombay now, which is what they are going to do, if that is the notion of development, then God help me and all the Bombayites, because you can't breathe the air in Bombay. So can you imagine what's going to happen, and what's going to happen to the water problem, about which I have written extensively in Ravan and Eddy.
Right.
There is a full section called The Water Wars. So, I don't know how the populace of Bombay and the populace of India is looking at these things. Are they not willing to question these fundamental beliefs that has got this party to power?
Right. So that's also widening the scope of the kind of commentary that you have been making, but also, coming back to literature and the arts and cinema, this idea of censorship. I want to first ask you, aren't you worried that your book is going to created severe reactions in 1975 when you first wrote? You talk about 78 cuts that the censor board came. And I just want to read out a little portion for our viewers. There's a portion where the Pandavas, Arjun brings Draupadi back to his mother, and he says, "Mother, mother, where are you? You will never guess, not in 7 lifetimes, what a beautiful gift I have brought for you." And the mother, who's off stage, because this is a screenplay, she's off stage, she says, "Arjun dear, I don't have the patience to wait for 7 lifetimes. Whatever it is, share it with your brothers as usual." Now, all of us have grown up with the epics around us, so we know the story, but this is a contemporarization, so to speak. And Draupadi responds saying, "Arjun, tell your mother this isn't a new kingdom or a chocolate cake that you've brought for her for the first time. It's a living woman who talks and laughs and is mad with joy and belongs to you, cannot be shared amongst the 5 of you." This is also a telling commentary on patriarchy and gender that you're talking about today in the context of what we saw last week. Your book is sort of also fueling the kind of narrative many women's rights activists want out there front and center.
And I was trying to do this in 1975, so it's a bit odd that again we are revisiting the same, and that nothing, it seems, has changed, which will be very sad. But there will be criticism, and I hope to God it is going to be a critique and not just damning the thing, because what damning means is that you're not even willing to look at anything.
Right.
But my question is, you take, Ramanujan's or Paula Richman's book about the many Ramayanas. It is part of the tradition. And we seem to have completely forgotten that this is what makes India such a robust country, that there is never one version. Whichever text you take, I'm talking about, of course, the 2 great epics that we have, and I'm sure it's the same with the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Right.
That you get one version, and there is obviously someone else in the background who's trying to rework the version again and again, and it makes for such a richness. If you don't know your colossal and absolutely fantastic mythology, your epics, then you have these problems.
In fact, when you talk about different versions, just coming to the story of Draupadi, actually at least 2 other books come to mind: The Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and also a book called Yajnaseni by another author. Now, which were the telling of the Mahabharata from Draupadi's perspective and her point of view. You've taken that a step further. You've not just talked about their point of view, you've brought out the kind of anger and oppression that she feels. So again, I want to ask you, are you worried then there's going to be a backlash or reactions to your book?
Yeah, I would be worried because not only because I am no hero, I have no desire to be a hero at all, but what I certainly would like to think is that when are we going to start getting a little bit more mature, and that when are we going to learn our own past and our mythology? Our great texts, what do we want to do? We want to condemn them to some kind of unilinear treatment? Don't you? These are live texts where you can feel the blood flowing,
Right.
And yeah, I would hate to be caught in this ridiculous thing called, it's almost as if ghar ki laaj rakhni. There is no laaj here. What you have here is really a open discussion, which is what a democracy is about. And this is the very thing that we don't want. There may be something very radically about the way we think of democracy then.